That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Comic Reviews, a late night spooky episode on Halloween. Not really that spooky. Let me adjust this a bit. Yes, we're broadcasting late in the evening-ish on Halloween, 9:30 p.m. start time for this. Sorry about that, but I had to hand out candy today. It's Halloween for this special episode. Not very, very special. It's Halloween, and so there were trick-or-treaters. My first year in the house, in the house with trick-or-treaters, and so I had to make a showing. I had a lot of fun with that. Haley dressed up as a doctor clown, a clown doctor. I don't know, what's the term for a doctor that is also a clown, as opposed to a doctor that specifically treats clowns. Anyway, so she dressed up as that and handed out the candy. I got into my straitjacket and prisoner jumpsuit, put on my Hannibal Lecter mask, and scared people. And that was fun. I had one kid come up and he was like, "No, are you serious?" As I just like stared at him. And yeah, that was a good time. Anyway, I've got art finally up on the walls of the house. Got all my art up. Finally took frickin' forever. Let's see here. Go through these real quick. Just a couple of the pieces that are in the room. All right, so there's the poster for my movie that was made 7 years ago. There's my gigantic Heath Ledger Joker piece. There's Green Lantern Emerald Knights. Over there is a Bombshells Batwoman piece, very small, but you can see it in the corner. And I've got these cool metal signs right here. And yeah, so got some nice aesthetic decoration up, all that jazz. Anyway, we've got a handful of issues to talk about tonight, so I didn't feel too bad pushing this back to a bit later. Only got 4 books tonight, don't have a trade to talk about, don't have a throwback review tonight. So we'll be starting tonight with Batman Secret Files #1, followed by Justice League Dark Wonder Woman The Witching Hour #1, followed by Heroes in Crisis #2, and it came out on a Wednesday, #3. So plenty of content to talk about, but not stacked tonight. Anyway, who have I got here? I got Jake Carlson, and I got Smash Time, and I got Zorro Fan Productions in the comments. Hi, folks. Thanks for showing up. Zorro Fan Productions wishes everyone a happy Halloween, as do I. So let's go ahead and start tonight by talking about Batman's Secret Files #1. These are the kinds of things that I actually really love in comics, where it's just a lot of short stories. I'm talking just a handful of pages. Yeah, it's funny, we actually got 2 of those tonight. But yeah, this is seriously just a handful of really short 2-3 page Batman stories. Oddly enough, Secret Files usually has like a collection of kind of like profiles or basic information about different characters. So like I have other Secret Files comics, and they got like, you know, Batman, height 6'5", eyes blue, so on and so forth. And I don't know, it's information that I usually don't care for, but it always usually has 1 or 2 good short stories in it. And unlike normal, this just has nothing but good short Batman stories, so I really appreciate that. We open with one from the man himself, Tom King. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3 pages. 3-page Tom King script with Batman. It's fantastic. I absolutely love the premise of this story. I don't even want to describe it, and I don't know how much I'm going to describe any of these very ultra short stories, because I'd say it's just worth getting. Now, someone asked if it's Smash Time in the comments says, is Batman Secret Files #1 important? Not at all. If you don't read this, you're not gonna not be able to understand what's going on in Heroes in Crisis or in Tom King's Batman Run or anything like that. This is totally just one-off, completely stand on their own, not even necessarily in continuity stories. There are things that are clearly not in continuity. The next story is The Nature of Fear. Nice, creepy Scarecrow story that kind of has a unsettling, tragic ending, and I really appreciate that. Some just fantastically creepy art in this one. I love the idea of someone seeing more of a man-bat-like figure while they're hallucinating under the Scarecrow's gas and looking at Batman. So I thought that was pretty cool. So that one was alright. Then there's this one that I didn't quite get. It has something to do with drones and Wayne Tech and all this stuff. And that one didn't 100% make sense to me, but I thought it was interesting. It kind of seemed to play with with the end of Dark Knight, the Nolan film, to a bit, because in that there's the whole spying on people set up through the cell phones and stuff, and that in a number of ways kind of predicted drone tech and a lot of metadata scrubbing programs. And so this one's we got drones that are being sold to military contractors, but someone else bought them and all kinds of crazy stuff, and now they're directly hurting everyday people. And so Batman has to destroy the whole line to save one person's life, and it's a question of whether or not that's worth it, and for him, absolutely it is. So I thought that was pretty cool. A bit of it did feel lost on me. I feel like I maybe missed something in there, but I don't know. I probably got enough of it, given that the story is called One, and it all comes down to saving one life. So, Then we have a story that is clearly not in continuity, since this definitely is, where Batman is alone in the woods and he thinks he's hunting Man-Bat, but he's just alone in a cabin in the woods, dealing with isolation. He mentions several times that he doesn't like himself, and I appreciated that. And he begins to realize that there's probably no Man-Bat, there's probably no monster out there, because he kills a deer and just kind of goes off on his own. So I thought that, was alright. Final story, question mark, I think is the final one, involves Batman teaming up with Detective Chimp. I thought that was pretty good. The world's greatest detective and Batman. Funny. I did actually quite enjoy that story. I thought it was pretty cool. I don't really know that much about Detective Chimp, besides that he exists, and so most of my exposure to him has come from The Witching Hour, so it's been interesting to just see more of this character popping up. I don't know, honestly, if he were not a chimp, he would feel very much like just any kind of grizzled detective character. I really did like that one. Jake Carlson saying, the Detective Chimp one was very well written. Tom Taylor, the writer for the comic Injustice, wrote that story. Chimp was in Injustice a lot. Well, I guess Tom Taylor has a lot of affinity for Detective Chimp. It's kind of cool to see Brad Walker's art on him, because I feel like Brad Walker just found pictures of chimps and kind of ran with it, It was, I don't know, it's interesting. So, I don't know, there's a cool sense of this is a wacky-ass character, but he just kind of fits in perfectly in the DC universe, and I quite like that. Tom Taylor is a guy I'd heard a lot about, but I don't read Injustice, and I'm not a big Marvel guy, but he's going to be doing Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, so I added that to my pull list, and this story gave me quite a bit of confidence in him. I'm really curious to see what he's going to deliver there, because I quite like this, and so he definitely can write. So that's cool. But yeah, ultimately, this is just one of those things where you definitely don't have to read this. It is totally just an add-on book to like the final week of a 5-week month, or 5 Wednesday month rather, and it is the definition of fluff, but it's super fun. I absolutely adore stuff like this. This is a great comic to just give to someone kind of thing. Because it's definitely got a lot of wackiness. It definitely deals with things that are just very comic book, but you don't really have to know anything, and that's really nice. Unsurprisingly, the Tom King story is definitely the one that I found the most compelling, but hey, what can you do? Anyway, let's go ahead and move along, shall we, to Justice League Dark, Wonder Woman, The Witching Hour, #1. I don't like the way this was categorized, because the Witching Hour event started with Wonder Woman, Justice League Dark, The Witching Hour #1, and now it's ending with Justice League Dark, Wonder Woman, The Witching Hour #1. That's dumb. Just make it #2. Anyway. So this is the finale of The Witching Hour, and it does not disappoint. It's pretty big and epic and crazy, and you get a lot of really cool, bombastic style art that's really fun, and I like stuff like this quite a bit, no lie. Nanda Parbat's completely fucked. The magical world of the DC universe is topsy-turvy. The green's no longer a thing. There's no art. The green's still a thing, but it's been circumvented. There's no Parliament of Trees. Now there's a Parliament of Flowers and all this stuff. So it's just, there's a lot of craziness. A cool trick that I like that is done throughout this issue is Wonder Woman goes swimming deep into the subconscious of the witch goddess Hecate? Anyway, and she reaches the bottom and comes through a barrier to the other side, and then the panels start to be upside down. And you feel like that's just going to be a one-panel thing, but every time they go back to Wonder Woman in this world, she's upside down, looking down upon all this stuff. And that lasts for quite a while throughout the book, as we get kind of the background on what made the witch goddess what she is, what made her so vindictive, and what made her want to end the world of man, or to restructure magic, rather. And then you get like the moment where realization finally comes and Diana knows what direction she has to take, and then she goes right side up, and we see that she's looking down on this battle between the Justice League Dark and the Witch Goddess. So I don't know, it was just kind of cool how it all worked out. A lot of really, really stunning art in this issue. And it ultimately comes down to the idea that magic has a cost. So it's been the same idea from the very beginning. It's just very, very tightly structured, very well written kind of story there that feels grand, feels epic in scale. And so we've got the notion that the magic users like Zatanna can't afford to use their magic, because if they do, they'll bring the other kind back. And Hecate, I don't know how to say it. The witch goddess has banished the other kind from the beginning of time. And so the solution, unfortunately, because Hecate will not see the path to peace, the solution, unfortunately, has to become to make her Hecate. But it's an H. Hecate? Paquette. The solution, unfortunately, becomes that they have to force magic to be whole again as opposed to divided between dark and light. And so you have Zatanna use her magic, which opens the door for the other kind and causes them to attack. So I will say, as much as I like that solution, I do feel like we spend a whole lot of time on Paquette's origin and how she got there and how she fits into the magical puzzle. We spend a lot of time in this issue on that and not a lot of time in exploring why this solution works. So I thought that was maybe a weaker point about it, but it did still feel like a very satisfying ending to the story that's been told here on the whole. And meanwhile, they realize that the witch marked only 4 appeared when there are supposed to be 5. And then we get the tease for upcoming arcs of Justice League Dark, as Circe has duped them all and made herself the channel for the dark forces of magic that Paquette is leaving in her wake. I like it. I like that notion. She's kind of like the master manipulator and all this shit now, and I just think it works, you know? It's just really cool. It's grand, it's epic, it's bombastic, it feels like a Justice League story, and it also feels very magically driven, so it's just really enjoyable in that way. Smash Time says, it's pretty annoying that Jail Dark is always the underground jail book. It doesn't get much attention, or as much attention. It's unfortunate because I'm really enjoying what Tynion's doing here. 2 arcs in, and he's really selling it for me. He's clearly got a vision for this series and knows what he wants to be doing, and so I'm very much enjoying it. Before I continue, people watching the stream, do me a favor, tell me, how is the quality of the stream looking? How am I doing, how am I doing quality-wise? Drop frames, anything like that? Is connection good? Audio's consistent? Stuff like that? I've been wondering about that. I'm just wanting some feedback. I went out and got a new wireless card for my desktop computer here. So I wanted to make sure I'm taking full advantage of my 5 gigahertz internet connection. Alright, Smash Time says my quality is good. That is good to hear. I felt really bad the last couple weeks, so thank you. I got the A-OK from Jake Carlson as well. Thank you very much. Should have probably asked that a couple books ago, but hey, here we are. Alright, let's go ahead and move on and talk about Heroes in Crisis number 2. So, interestingly, I'm very invested in this. I'm very curious to see where this is going and what's happening in this. I am not as emotionally compelled in Heroes in Crisis as I was with Mr. Miracle. And that doesn't mean that it's like, oh, suddenly it's bad. No. I just found myself kind of immediately identifying or not necessarily identifying, immediately understanding what was going on, what the direction was for Mr. Miracle. And in Heroes in Crisis, I'm not 100% sure on it. There's stuff going on, and I'm just like, okay, I'm getting wrapped up in it. I'm finding a lot of what's happening in it very interesting. To me, the consistently most interesting thing are these 9-panel grids of the characters confessing themselves to Sanctuary. I find that to be instantly the most compelling thing about it. Kind of the thing you were wondering in the last issue you get here. what do Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman have to say to Sanctuary? And, like, so this one with Wonder Woman I found very interesting because I like King's diagnosis of her, that she is so concerned with helping others, she doesn't properly practice self-care. Jake Carlson says, only one we don't get is Batman. Batman's in here. Did you miss it? Did you miss that page? Or am I missing what you're saying? Anyway, no, but like the idea that Wonder Woman gets so wrapped up in helping others that she forgets to care for herself, that is a very Wonder Woman thing. Like, it's not that Wonder Woman doesn't have a secret identity, but like Wonder Woman's secret identity is the least consistent thing about the character. Half the time, writers just throw it the fuck out the window, or it's only like a small part of the story. It's not a true secret identity to the same extent that like Superman's Clark Kent is, or Bruce Wayne's Batman is. Jay Carlson, you missed that page. It's not as, like, I've read not every Wonder Woman comic in the world or anything, but just from what I've read, very little is done with the secret identity side, the Diana Prince identity as like as an incognito thing. Wonder Woman seems to be a character who throws herself out into the world to just always be helping. There's that really, really famous comic with Wonder Woman and Lois Lane hanging out for a day, and Wonder Woman reveals that the lasso of truth makes her be true and doesn't allow her to turn her back on suffering in the world and stuff like that. And I really see that with the character. But superhuman or not, you're still human, and there's just this sense that you can only go so hard for so long. So I really found this confession to be just the most compelling. When I was young, training, I dreamt of a sword piercing me. This was late. Night. I woke in terror, yelling out for Mother. When she did not come, I left to find her. In the palace, there were guards between Mother and me. I was able to find my way past them. I came to her door. There was screaming. I remember the handle on the door, gold with etchings, a lion roaring above the fire, her spear drawn. The woman was also roaring. I opened the door. There were so many around my mother, her bed, and Mother had an arrow in her side, a golden arrow. There were towels or wrappings, beautiful, embroidered, red with blood. They pulled on the arrow. She was screaming. Everything was loud. I closed the door. I went back to my room. Later on, many nights when more nightmares came, I bit on my lip to keep quiet, and I stayed in my bed. So you understand, I appreciate your work, this help you give, but still, I think there are others suffering more, and I would prefer to bite my lip. Thank you. That kind of characterization for Wonder Woman I find immediately compelling, immediately interesting. That she would prefer to stomach her own suffering in an attempt to save someone else from experiencing any suffering. Like, I like that detail of she awoke with pain and went to her mother and saw her mother in pain and shut down on her own end. Stopped the need to seek help for her own pain because she recognized it in others and saw a greater need in them. That is instantly compelling and instantly tragic. And so it's interesting because I was not thinking of this as I was reading the issue. Maybe I need to be giving these Heroes in Crisis issues 2 or 3 reads before I start talking about them, because the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm getting there. Like, I found this compelling. I didn't realize how intricate it was until I started talking about it and rereading it. The whole murder mystery thing between Harley Quinn and Booster Gold continues to develop. King has a pretty interesting take on Booster Gold, and I like that, you know, it is kind of the typical superheroes hitting each other, acting emotionally, without necessarily stopping to talk, but I don't know, it works because because of the way he writes Booster Gold and the way he writes Harley Quinn. Jake Carlson's asking if we can go over the Batman page, and I don't see why not. Oh, just gotta find it. Okay. Batman. I train partners to work with me. They become my family. I've watched so many of them die. I'm sorry. That's the Batman page. What is that about then? Well, this is on the heels of Dick Grayson getting shot in the fucking head. Jay Carlson says, I totally missed this page, dude. Where is it in the issue? It's right before Booster Gold wakes up, and it's right after they pull the laughing teeth out of... Oh, what's his name? Commander Steel. They pull the laughing teeth out of Commander Steel, and then the next page is the Batman confessional, and then it's Booster Gold waking up in the field. Citizen. Nah, it says Commander here, right? Did I read that wrong? No, Commander Steel. Okay. So anyway, I don't know, the idea of Batman constantly, yeah, so like Dick getting shot in the head, Jason Todd dead, and there's new drama between him and the Bat family. So that's probably weighing on Bruce. The fuck's going on with Tim Drake right now? Does anyone ever know? I don't know, that I would say that's pretty typical Batman angstiness, but you know, it's a pretty big deal for him to talk about. Jake is of the opinion that Harley Quinn is overpowered in this, and I'm of the opinion that you underestimate her true power. No, I can see that. She is able to take out Batman pretty quick and kind of subvert the Justice League, or the Trinity rather, through that. And I'll probably grant you that. I mean, it's definitely, like, yeah, sure, okay, you got the lasso of truth to get away and get kryptonite from Batman, and yada yada. Wonder Woman's still plenty fast enough to stop your ass, and you don't have something to stop her, so... Just saying, that is a little hokey, though maybe I'll give someone the shock, or the fact that she's holding on to the lasso of truth, or something. It's... I don't really think about that stuff too much when I'm invested this much in the emotional side of a thing. And that is the stuff I'm finding really interesting here. Because, like, we're going to talk about, like, problems with, oh, this character shouldn't be this or shouldn't be that. I mean, Lois Lane's working at the Daily Planet here, which is just... So when's this in continuity, right? It's just one of those things. And then we have the the Shocker page where Superman as Clark Kent talks about his struggle with identity. Is he Superman or is he Clark Kent? Or how long can you pretend to be one version of yourself? Are either of these himself, or are they just partial versions of himself? And that's a topic with Superman that we have covered immensely over the years here. But I really like it. To boil it all down to 9 panels is pretty damned effective. I don't say these things. We can't say these things. What if it got out? And that's kind of the worry, is that somehow or other the Sanctuary Confessions are loosed upon the world. Smash Time says, I think that lines up with the current Bendis run. Lois isn't working at the Daily Planet right now in the Bendis run. She kind of walked out on Perry, and it's kind of a big embarrassment. Jake says, who do you think did it? Who done it? They call themselves the Puddlers. What are the Puddlers? I don't know, man. I don't know. The murder mystery side of this thing, the intrigue and typical event stuff, is just not the kind of thing I usually think of with Tom King's writing, I guess. I don't know what it is. I'm here for the character stuff. Who's the Puddlers? Who are the Puddlers? It's hard not to just say like Lex Luthor, but that does seem like it'd be really typical. Shot in the dark, it's Sanctuary itself. Sanctuary is created by the Trinity to help superheroes, and maybe it sees that the only solution is to end the anonymity of secret identities, to end that process and shake things up. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and move on to my final book of the week. It came out on a Wednesday. I'm really enjoying this series. It's pretty fun. It came out on a Wednesday as a horror anthology, and what better day to read a horror anthology comic than on Halloween? Very Jack Kirby inspired art. I think that's kind of the premise of this. The covers for this book is to just do a monster of some kind on the cover. And I still love this. Fantastic. A monster and a newsstand seems to be the pitch behind these covers. So this is a horror anthology comic, and I will say I do like this series so far. I've only read 2 issues. I do like this series. The issues that I don't like are the ones that seem to be just a preview almost. Like the first story here is called Emergence, and it's about this guy who like gets lands in New York City in 2020, but he's a World War II fighter pilot, and he came through like a dimension of such and such before he got there. And then like we get this reveal that all these crazy things have been just popping up out of nowhere. A tanker ship lands in the middle of Rome. A Russian nuclear sub in the middle of the Nevada desert. Tribe of Aboriginals from the Stone Age in the middle of New York City. Blah blah blah. So you get all this stuff happening, and it's setting up this premise of going back into this rift, and very, very typical, like, the Great Journey kind of thing. And so, yeah, this first chapter is called Emergence, or this story is called Emergence, and it looks like it's going to be some kind of like continuation of a story, because it doesn't really end. They just go into the dimension, and then that's the end of the pages we get. It doesn't say to be continued. I don't know if they want to continue it in this comic or what, but just like in the last issue, there were a couple things that were like part of other ongoing events, and just like, I'm just left here kind of like, you know, a horror anthology comic, it should be self-contained short horror stories. It doesn't need to be this long. So that being said, the next story I did like quite a bit more, though I do have to give it a little bit of a hit, because I don't know if this is just in my copy, but there was a error where a page from almost the very end of the story ended up being the second page. At least from what I could tell, it was supposed to be at the end of the story. Maybe it was meant to be a preview. It did not come off that way. But this one's called Inoculation. Inosculation. Inosculation? Weird. Two brothers are trying to catch fireflies. One decides to go into the woods to catch more, even though their mother had told him not to. His little brother doesn't want him to go. Can't convince him not to. When he doesn't come back after a while, the little brother goes to yell for his mom. Kid goes into the woods and starts seeing all the things his mother warned him about, all these weird tree demon spirit things. And then they attack him and force him to join them. And this is what I really like about horror in comics, is you can just get away with really freaky-ass weird imagery because you don't have the same kind of restrictions of budget. Like a lot of people like to say comics don't have a budget, and that's not true. The budget is what you're going to pay your artist and how much work you're going to make your artist do. But it is completely fair to say that comics don't have the same kind of budgetary restrictions that like a major motion picture does. So yeah, you just get these weird, creepy imagery, and like the little brother goes to tell the mom gets there and she can't do anything, and they just lost their son, her son and the kid's older brother to the woods. And I like this ending narration of that was the last time anyone ever saw my brother Jack, but Mama never stopped searching. For years I'd go back and forth between blaming myself for not stopping him and blaming him for going into those godforsaken woods. Truth be told, it was both our fault. He never should have gone, and I never should have let him. Mama used to always tell us to never go into them woods. You just might never come back. Mom was right. My mama was always right. Yeah, it's just nice, creepy. I like stuff like that. This story was the highlight, error and all. So that was written by Cameron Riddle with art by Kostas Pantoulas. Sorry if I fucked your name up. I'm terrible with names. Yeah, I really like that. That was a good ass story. Nice creepy art. I do like these little features that this book is doing, where the cover artist kind of breaks down their vision for the piece and just does a little bit of interview. And so like we got some, this clearly a very Jack Kirby inspired cover. And I liked these little art breakdowns, seeing this seeing the cover in different stages. So that was just really cool. It was enjoyable to see, and it was cool to get some insight on the artist. Mr. Crypt is a short comic strip that's not really doing much for me, but It's cute. Elysium. Yeah, see, this one, like, this is a really low budget comic. That's very obvious to tell. It's printed on newsprint. It's priced at $2, which is a fucking steal in this day and age. But, I don't know, this Elysium section is just an ad. Issue number 3 of a 6-issue limited series coming to your local comic shop December 2018. No, I'm sorry. I just don't want to really... I don't want to read that in an anthology comic. I just don't. And so I'm hoping that, you know, talking about this more might generate more sales for them, and then they can afford to just devote their issue to stories in it. That being said, there's some cool art in here. I don't think I'll go buy this Elysium book, but there was some cool, you know, gory style art in here, and I appreciate that. You know, just that was kind of cool. Like, it does look neat. I don't want to rag on the comic for trying to get its name out there and stuff, and if it's helping them publish the book, I'm enjoying reading it, so it's fine. Just something I wish there was more soul content. The highest bid is another short, self-contained story. I did enjoy this quite a bit as well. Just creepy, just weird. Someone bids on a piece of art, on a painting online, and wins it, and it kind of like destroys their life and puts them in a weird situation. It's very just creepy and strange, and I like that. So that was a nice fun one. Rarely does black and white work for me in comics. I always feel like more color just helps add more detail, but this really sells it. The black and white here just looks really good, especially on the newsprint. The blacks feel deeper because of that. So I really did appreciate this story. I thought it was really good. Just creepy. I feel like I might have missed a page or two here, though. Whatever. It's just creepy and unsettling. The Wicked Righteous Genesis is another story that is just a continuation of something, or is meant to be told onward. Again, it's fine. I understand the need for it. I would like more stuff like the two stories I really appreciated that are completely self-contained and meant to be read just on their own. You know, one day I might see something in this as advertised and be like, oh, I want to go read that on its own, and that's all well and good, but I'd like, you know, you're only 3 issues in. Sell me a little bit more on your standalone stuff first. Is all I'm hoping for. Alrighty. I think that will do it for this episode of Comic Reviews, everyone. It came out on a Wednesday, $2. If you like horror in comics, I'm quite enjoying this series so far, and if nothing else, it's a fantastic name for a comic book. So, yep, that will do it for me. Everyone, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, bye!